There are places where they see, like here, quite a few bike tourer, but others where they never seen one and they fail to grasp what they're doing. The conversation in many places is funny. They say, "Where are you from?" "Italy." "Where do you come from?" "Italy." "Yeah, no, you don't get it. I know that you're Italian, but where you start cycling?" "Italy." And then there is always a moment of silence. They try to process what they just heard. "But did you cycle all the way from Italy?" "Yes." And then they start asking how many days, how many kilometers, how you do it, how you eat, how you sleep. But many people, they really fail to grasp it. It's beyond what they can imagine.
Welcome to the Seek Travel Ride podcast, where we share the stories and experiences of people who have undertaken amazing adventures by bike. Whether it's crossing state borders, mountain ranges, countries or continents, we want to share that spirit of adventuring on two wheels with our listeners. Hello, I'm your host Bella Malloy, and I'm very excited to introduce my guest for today's episode of the Seek Travel Ride podcast, Muriel Zaccuri. Muriel is currently midway through his bicycle tour, which will see him travel from London all the way to Japan. But something which makes his trip stand out from other world travellers I've been fortunate enough to interview so far is the route which he has chosen to take. In particular, he's spent a lot of time exploring the Gulf region. I'm really looking forward to learning more about this area as we chat about the experiences he has had on his bicycle tours so far. Muriel, welcome to the show.
Hi Bella, thank you for the kind presentation.
I'm so excited, Muriel. I can already tell we're going to have some magic stories coming from you because you can't, it would be impossible to travel where you have gone and not have so many stories to share. But a question that I do like to ask for all of my guests is, do you remember the very first bike you ever rode?
No, actually the first bike, I don't remember it. I remember a red BMX that my father gave me when I was around 6, and I rode with my brother around our hometown till we were 10, probably around, but I have a memory of learning to go without training wheels, but I don't remember the bike.
So hang on, when you say you have a memory of learning to go without training wheels, did you learn to ride with no training wheels, or do you remember?
I remember where I was, who was with me, and the panic, the terror I felt at the time, but I don't remember the bike.
Oh, I wonder, conversely, you talk about panic and terror, I wonder if there's any part of your memory that maybe remembers a bit of elation or a sense of freedom when you realise that you could retain balance and keep moving forward.
Yeah, no, of course. I don't know why, but I have a memory of that day perfectly clear, and I remember the terror, not wanting to do it, and then them pushing me, and then when I was able to stand at the end and going, they couldn't stop me anymore. They haven't me stop it still yet now.
No, I mean, and I speak to you now, Muriel, correct me if I'm wrong, you are in Khiva in Uzbekistan, that is correct?
Yes, that's right.
And look, I have tallied up, and I've called this your 2022 tour, which, because you did do a tour in 2021, and to be fair, I nearly feel like this is a tour which is picking up where you left off. But on this specific tour here, is Uzbekistan, I think it's your 14th or 15th country of this specific trip, isn't it?
I think, yes, and I actually didn't count them, but I think around 15, yes, that's right.
And a fair few to go as well, and just as that little child, you know, no one is stopping you. As an Australian saying, the world is your oyster, you have so much left there to explore. I wonder, before we get into it, could you just quickly give a brief introduction of yourself to our listeners?
Well, I'm Italian, but I live in London. All my life, I used the bicycle to go around, to do everything. I never owned a car in my life. I was lucky to be always living in towns and places where it was fine to go by bike, although in Italy it wasn't normal. I tried in my 20s probably to do a couple of bicycle tours, failed miserably. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to repair a puncture. I didn't know how to do wild camping, and I just gave up. There was no internet. I didn't know anybody who was doing any kind of bike touring or able to teach me anything. But then later, what was it, 2007 probably, when I moved to London. I came across the website of Tom Allen, and I start reading and reading and reading. I said, then it's possible. I want to do it. And the plan was, first idea, to go from London to Milan. Then I met another guy in London, a French guy, that taught me a lot about bike maintenance, about camping and everything. I owe him a lot. Without him, probably I wouldn't be here now. And once we were camping and cycling together, and another guy told me about the Pamir. I said, I don't know, what is Pamir? You know it. It's this place, every cyclist wants to go there. It's the second highest road in the world. Well, I want to go there, and here I am on my way.
You are well on your way. I mean, in a way, at the moment, you're around the area that the Silk Road, that's the route of so many centuries ago. But the way that you've made your way there, and I mentioned it a little bit in the introduction there, Muriel, as well, because I have been so lucky and fortunate to have spoken to a few guests who have done monumental world bicycle tours. And I have, I guess, been able to be afforded an insight into the traditional sort of touring type of route. And what I mean by that is there seems to be a general consensus of, say, you leave from the UK, you travel across Europe in a certain manner. Many people go through the Balkans, then they'll hit Turkey, they might go through Iran, and then they'll hit Central Asia and start their way across from there. Where you have differed, though, is, I guess, your first route, London through to Milan, and you stopped in Italy. And now you've continued on again for 2022, starting off where you left off in Italy. But instead of continuing along and taking that traditional route, you decided to head down through to the Gulf region. So I'm looking forward to seeing what sparked that idea in you as well.
Well, it's not so interesting, actually. It's a chance. I don't love cold weather, and planning the route, you need to take some cold to do the classic route from Europe to the Pacific, somewhere, wherever you want to go. And my route originally should have been from London, Rhine, Danube, Turkey, Iran, and then Central Asia, China, and so on. And you need to hit the Pamir, Central Asia, in summer, because you go almost up to 5,000 meters. And so you need to take the winter in Europe, which is not really pleasant. And I was supposed to leave last year around January for this reason. Then I came across a post saying that you can go across Iraq and go, and Saudi started giving visa again. I said, wow, I can start later in spring here and then spend the winter in the warm of the Gulf. That's it. Only that.
Oh.
To avoid the winter.
So you are a hot weather lover. I feel like you're about to you must really be heat adapted now. You can't travel through the Gulf region and not be heat adapted. Are there ever any days actually where it's been so hot for you that you've gone, actually, winter wouldn't have been so bad?
Not in the Gulf, and actually the other way around. Surprising, skipping ahead, in Saudi, it can be cold. It can be very cold. Not the desert. I mean, the desert, yes, there is a big jump between day and night, but it doesn't get freezing. But you go up in the mountain very high and can be rainy, foggy, cold, and I got all of that.
I mean, I guess really, as much as we would like to be able to skip out on all weather, it is so unpredictable. And I guess our climate is changing as well. So what used to be normal and predictable is no longer for us either. And as, I guess, a bicycle tourer, you are at the whims and at the mercy of the weather, the elements and the extremes all in one many times a day, really, aren't you?
Yeah, you need just to accept it. I mean, you're out, you are in the element, and you cannot choose the weather, whatever it is thrown at you, you have to take it.
I want to go back, actually, Muriel, to something you said just in your introduction, and that is how you wanted to travel very early. You actually did start a tour and you failed miserably, and then it was through the discovery of Tom Allen's website and then discussions that you had with another bicycle traveller that you learnt so much along the way. It's interesting how much has changed since the first time that you set out to now what you are doing as well. Do you feel that if you were starting afresh, and we had the benefit of hindsight, as a fresh 20-year-old, you would have had the stumbling blocks that you faced back when you first tried? Or do you think that we're better set up for people starting out on a journey like this now?
Well, if I had the knowledge before. I would have done it earlier, but I mean, it was me. I'm not really a practical person, and I didn't have a clue.
Yeah, I wonder too, though, we have terms like paying it forward and whatnot. I am certain, most certain, that there will have been things that you have picked up along the way where you have unwittingly, perhaps not even knowing it, but been that person with the wisdom and have passed the knowledge on to other people as well.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, it's me, Bella from the show. I just wanted to let you know about something exciting. I have recently just created a new Facebook group named Seek Travel Ride, where if you are a fan of the show, you can join and we can actually bring this community more to life. It's a place where you can learn more about our guests, see more photos, chat about episodes in more detail, and maybe even pose some questions as well. It's also a place where you can share your own bicycle adventure journeys, whether you've got a photo or a blog or some videos that you want to share. Come online, say hi, join the Facebook group, and let's enjoy this community that we have built. We have a global audience here. People are listening from all around the world, and I think we can only thrive and get an even greater sense of wanderlust by sharing our experiences with each other and connecting. So get onto Facebook. I've provided a link in the show notes and you can join that community as well. Thank you. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's because I own the word a lot. I mean, to people that taught me a lot, I have a tendency of try to pass information on the road. I'm always, if I know somebody's behind me, I always tell them about camping places, about the road, or I share cool things that I found out for my kit. Small things, but I try to share always. Try to give back.
I'm sure that you have done that so much, and that so much has been given to you as well. I know, and I say this a few times to my guests, before I interview people, I look through the stories that they have shared, trawl through a few things and to get an idea of the journey that they have taken so far. And something that I really appreciate from what you have been sharing online, Muriel, is you really go deep into the accounts of those sort of interactions that you have had with others, whether it is a bicycle traveller or whether it is a kindness of a stranger that helped you out in a situation where you've been hosted in a warm shower. You do really share so much about that experience. You really get a feel for how you have travelled day to day and the things that you have felt and impacted you along the way.
Yeah, I mean, the two reasons I'm traveling are to see places and to meet people and different culture. And be on a bike is the way to be close to people, to be approachable. And I mean, it's incredible how people are friendly, welcoming, interested in you. Every tourer would tell you that, and I heard it many times, but when you feel it yourself is beyond, is incredible. You cannot believe it, you cannot really transmit what you receive from other people in words.
I guess it's also just the kindness that's given to you. And I feel this through so many of my guests. And you're right, every tourer has the same overwhelming thing. It's almost the answer to the question when I ask people what's one of the best experiences you recount. Yes, there are beautiful landscapes and vistas and magic moments. It might be a day where there was a constant tailwind, a rarity. But more often than not, it's the human interactions and the kindness of a stranger, being in a vulnerable situation, feeling the depths of despair, but then a stranger comes and helps you when you feel like there was no way or it was negative. And I feel the style that you have taken on your trip, Muriel, with so many different cultures, it's interesting that seems to be a constant through your trip.
Yeah, absolutely. And everywhere I go, the people, yes, they have different culture, different religion, different language, but underneath we are all the same. We have all the same need, the same aspiration. We want security for us, for our family, for our children, house and food, and we don't want to kill anybody or to hurt anybody. And if you see some vulnerable people, you would help me. I mean, we are always in the Western world listening to news and everywhere is bad, everybody is killing each other, but at the end, if you really see the world, that is just a minority. It's just a minority that makes a lot of noise, nothing else.
The ones that we need to fill our minds with aren't the ones that are shared to us. It's always that negative mindset. Something, Muriel, that comes across a lot as well in your posts is there is a sense of you have an awareness of the history and sense of place when you arrive somewhere as well. Is that something that has always been a curious part of you, and have you always had a yearning to learn about places and the history and the cultural significance of places? And therefore, are you seeking certain things out from that point of view?
Yeah, I'm always been interested in cultural history of places from home, from reading books of history, or whenever I travel to a place, I don't just look, there is this to be seen. I want to know the history of the place, the language where it comes from, and you cannot understand the country if you don't understand the background of the country. Just scratch the surface.
Do you research a lot before you travel somewhere, and so then do you have something in mind, or do you travel there and then learn as you're in place?
I'm a planner, and basically I spent probably before shooting off 2 years researching most of my route and looking what to see, what to look in a country, the bit of history, the language. I was sharing, for example, I find interesting that in the Central Asia they are all Turkmenic languages, and the only Farsi one is the Kyrgyzstan, and I share this information with a friend of mine from Romania, which is similar situation, Romance language surrounded by Slavic languages. So I didn't research the Gulf country because it's a choice to avoid winter, and I went into them completely blind and knowing just what you come, from school and from news, nothing else.
So that yearning to escape the cold weather has pushed you a little bit off course in terms of your planning, and that you haven't done the pre-research for the areas you were riding to. So everything was fresh.
Exactly. I just didn't know anything. I didn't even know what to see, what to go. I was just stay warm and then take the ferry to Iran to go back in spring. That's it.
Okay, we have skipped so much of your trip just heading straight to the Gulf region, and I don't want to do that. So I want to go back, and I'm going to start you on your 2021 trip. And actually, can I ask straight off, do you see these as two separate trips, or do you see this as one big long trip with a little mini break in between?
It's kind of a continuous, but no, I see them as two different because the break was quite long. I stayed almost 6 months in Italy. The original trip was to do Rhine in Germany, then follow the Danube, and then go east. All countries were still closed for COVID. I couldn't do it. I couldn't wait anymore. I put things in motion to leave job, house, and so on. So I said, I go down, I visit the Balkans country that I would not visit on my normal route, then ferry to Italy from Albania, and spend winter with my mom, whom I hadn't seen for 2 years because of COVID. Start again from there. So no, honestly, I see them as two separate trips.
The mindset that you set off, so in 2021 you did a trip, you started in London, and if I'm correct you went through Belgium.
France, I crossed the whole of west of France, which was amazing and a very good introduction to long touring.
And then from there you continued your way, sort of moving southeast through Europe.
Yeah, I did France, then Germany, following mainly the Danube. In Austria, then I turned south toward Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, and then in Albania I took the ferry to Italy, and I cycled all the way north to Italy where my mom lives.
Hearing you recount your route there, very first part of your route predominantly is following rivers, so I'm imagining is fairly flat. You hit Austria and cross into Slovenia. That's obviously where you're starting to hit a lot more of the mountainous terrain.
Well, France, where I cycled, was not completely flat. There was a bit of climbing in the Ardennes, and then I crossed the Vosges Mountains, I remember that at a certain point there was this massive climb, I was calling it then, and I was kind of scared because I never really climbed, because living in England there are not really climbs, and so I got myself eat a big lunch, drink, be ready, and cycle and going through these massive climbs. And at the end, I mean, was not hard. And then after that, I realized that that was not even a climb, but was really soft. And I realized that in England, yes, there are no climbs, but they don't have a concept of hairpins or switchbacks because there are not big mountains, so they just go straight. And yes, they're short, but they're steep.
Very
so
steep.
I was already
exactly.
kind of a train. But then I started climbing, and now I love it. I love going mountains. I love climbing. I turn and do dead ends just to do a climb.
Oh, that fills my heart with joy. I love dead-end roads. They often sometimes lead to the most amazing places. Look, sometimes it's a disaster, but I love the idea that you will seek them out even on your tour as well.
Yeah, I don't love dead ends. I mean, on my trip there is no really sense on doing this, but if there is something to see, a monastery or just climbing a mountain, or that there is nice place there, you do it. I mean, and at a certain point I started doing just because there was reason to.
I guess also it's a mindset shift for you as well. You left the UK, you left London feeling that you didn't like climbs because you don't know what they are, but then you realise actually I don't mind it when the road goes up and I'm okay. So, but you no longer have this trepidation about getting into those hillier areas as well.
I was literally worried about climbing because I didn't experience them before, so I didn't know if I was able to do it. Now I love them.
And what about
when
going
you go
downhill?
Up, no, I don't like it.
We are kindred souls. I am on record as saying I would prefer to go up a climb twice than have to descend it once. And I realise to a lot of my listeners that makes me semi-weird, but it's just...
To me, it makes perfectly sense. When you go up, first of all, you have a sense of achievement. Then you go slow, you can hear the noise, look around, look the landscape. Don't worry too much about the road. And it's just an amazing experience. When you go down, you just need to focus on the road. Your hands hurt because you are braking constantly. You cannot look around. You need to stop when there is a nice panorama, but you cannot fully enjoy anything. You don't hear anything because you have just the wind in your ears. No. Going up is definitely better.
Muriel, no one has ever described it the way that you have. I certainly am with you. I enjoy so much of the uphill. Yes, it's challenging. Your heart rate is higher. It can be hot. It can be sweaty, depending on the time of year. But you do. You look around. You see every metre around you. You hear it and you see it. Whereas on the downhill it's just flying so fast, and I guess I don't get the same thrill and exhilaration that other people do from going high speeds. I suppose also, Muriel, you're travelling with a, round the world sort of touring bike load on as well. So there is that extra factor of descending with a heavy laden touring bike too.
Yeah, I mean, it's my bike. I had an idea of the weight, but because I had to fly at certain points, now I know exactly the weight is between 45 and 50 kilos, so it's hard to go up and pull it up, and downhill, if you let it go, it goes down fast.
Oh yeah, very fast. And
I'm quite reckless when I go downhill, but I don't enjoy it.
45 to 50 kilos. Can I ask, because you obviously have been traversing through some very remote sort of hot desert regions as well, how much extra weight are you adding to the bike with water at certain points as well?
Well, the maximum I carried once was 15 liters of water.
Far out. You certainly noticed that. Do you actually ever have those moments where you were staying in one place for a few days and the weight and the panniers aren't on your bike and you've travelled with it and it's fully...
Yeah, I mean, when I tend to do wild camping most of the time, but of course when you reach a town where you want to stay a couple of days, and of course you leave all the panniers at home and you go around the town without weight, and it's a completely different experience. It's easy, yes, you fast, you go around the traffic without any problem, but weirdly enough the bike feels less stable.
You're right, and actually a bit of extra weight does give it a little bit more stability there as well. Muriel, so as you mentioned, you do a lot of wild camping. How do you approach wild camping now? Are you ever nervous about it, or it's just what you do and it's become so normal for you?
No, now it became really normal. I'm really relaxed. The only stress I still have sometimes is when I get in a time and will I find a place? When you are amongst farmland, it becomes slightly harder, but no, I mean, I'm very relaxed. And also, once you leave Western Europe, is not even tolerated, is considered normal in most of the countries. I was cycling in Turkey with this Iranian guy, and we were camping everywhere on the beach in the middle of the town without any problem, with everybody seeing us, and it was perfectly normal. And I told him that it's not allowed in many European countries. He looked at me and said, "Why?" Well, I didn't have an answer for him. I don't know why.
You do wonder, why is it here in our Western civilization that allowing people to camp in nature is frowned upon?
I really don't know. I have a hypothesis I've been thinking about because of this guy asking me, but I don't really know.
What is your hypothesis?
They want us to follow rules. Then if everybody starts while camping, they leave rubbish around. They want the economy to go on, and so they want you to be in a organized place and pay for it. But nothing of that makes really sense in the middle of where put my tent to sleep, and the day after leave collecting my rubbish and the rubbish that other people have left behind.
I'm going to ask you what I always think is an impossible question, Muriel, especially with the number of many nights that you will have wild camp. Is there a particular wild camping memory or spot or place that you always think back fondly of, that you go, wow, what an experience that was?
Listening to your previous podcast, I knew that this question would come, and I'd been thinking about it, and no, I was not able to choose one. I slept in so many nice, amazing places that it's almost impossible to choose one. Probably the desert in the northwest of Saudi with some rock formation was amazing, but I mean, I slept on top of a canyon in Iran, was stunning place as well. Mountains on the sea, too many to mention them all.
Well, actually, let's change tact on that a little bit. If you were to have to pick out a perfect wild camping spot, would it be... I know that it's going to be somewhere warm because you don't like cold places.
Yeah.
Would you pick the countryside or would you pick the coast? Would you be the country or the seaside?
No, mountains, and
Lovely.
there must be a view. The sea is nice, it's easy, you have water, but no, mountains is the way to go.
Maybe on top of a mountain with a sea view in the distance. That could be perfect.
Well, I had that. I had that in Oman. I was on top of a
wow.
mountain with the sea underneath. It was stunning. Yes.
And a beautiful night sky as well.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen so many skies. I mean, I'm not really good at photos. I have just my phone and take the photo in automatic, and whatever comes. So I couldn't take photos of the sky, but I saw on top mountains and in the desert some amazing sky with the Milky Way, so clear, the moon shining almost like the sun. Is stunning. I use an app actually to recognize the star and see. And there was a certain point when I was between Saudi and Emirates when there was Venus and I don't remember the other planet aligned with the moon, vertical. You had the moon and one planet at the top and one at the bottom of the moon, and it was amazing.
Not every single part of a bicycle tour is stress-free. There are stressful moments as well. What sort of unexpected stressful moments have occurred to you during your travel?
Not that many. Mechanical failure, I had few problems and stuff, but they don't bother me anymore. I mean, actually, they are kind of, yes, fine, it's happened, it's a challenge, let's see if I can manage, or let's find help. The wars happened, and that actually was quite bad. I got attacked once, and they tried to take my phone, so that was really unpleasant. But, I mean, few days that you have to fight your subconscious and try to say, no, I mean, that was just an experience, bad luck. Actually, one of your hosts before said exactly this. But your head say, yes, people are nice, this was bad luck, and it's not going to happen again. But you're a bit of confidence and you struggle to gain it back.
Being mugged, it's not a great experience whatsoever. I remember I was in Paris once and someone tried to pickpocket me and I just felt almost violated to some degree. But I was living my own little comfort zone as well, secure in my home, I felt okay. I'm not there feeling vulnerable with all my possessions on a bike. Because this has happened to you on a bicycle trip, were there times afterwards where you know that you're processing something that shook you? Did you ever feel so frightened or shaken up? Did it ever nearly change your mind about continuing on with your trip?
No, continuing in my trip, no, I was determined to go on and to fight back this with my head. I said, one bad person cannot stop me to experience all the good that is out there. And so my head was saying this. But for a few days was hard. I didn't wild camp for a few days. And when people on motorbike were approaching me from behind, my heart was just jumping on my throat and I was shaking and really terrorized. Because the MAGA happened when two people just reached me from behind with a motorbike.
Do you feel you've moved past that now?
Yes, definitely.
I'm really glad to hear that, because I hate to think that an experience, which, as you said, bad luck, wrong place, wrong time, overwhelmingly your experiences have been good ones. I came across one of your posts. It was a list of all things that the kindness of strangers, the things that you were offered during the day and given as you were crossing. I can't remember what country it was.
Saudi.
Yes. I was looking at this list just amazed. And we think of people giving water in a desert or refreshment and food. What's the craziest thing that someone's possibly given you that you've gone, what?
Well, the day they gave me a stuffed animal as well, which actually was very welcome because I had previously kind of mascot stork that I bought during the first trip in Alsace in France. But then I lost it in Turkey, and when they gave it this little bear, I was so happy. Okay, I have a new mascot. I lost it the same day.
Oh, no. Have you replaced your mascot now?
No, not yet.
Do you think you will?
Yes, I will one day, yes. But it needs to happen in some way or to be in the right place. I'm not just going to a shop and looking for something.
No, there needs to be a symbolic mascot.
I bought the first one, but something happened and I really liked the place. There were storks all over the place in that village and it was nice. And
I love that someone did give you a stuffed animal because that seems so random. I'm prepared for stories of being given, I'm thinking impractical things like people giving you watermelons or, things that you go, they'll be really great for me, but how will I carry this? Stuffed animal wasn't something I was expecting.
Well, in Iran, once I was starting a climb, quite hard climb, and just at the bottom of the climb, this guy stopped and gave me a melon. I'm still wondering if he was generous or he was having a laugh.
Here's an extra 2 kilos. See how you go.
Exactly.
Was it a climb that was long enough that you could actually cut it open and just enjoy some on the way, maybe?
I carried it all the way and then I didn't eat it.
Oh, no! Actually, isn't there some sort of Greek mythology of, I'm trying to think of it, who had to roll the stone up the hill constantly?
Sisyphus or something like that.
Yeah, this is your version of that, just for this trip, that you didn't eat it as well. But overwhelmingly, that kindness of strangers has come across. Do you notice, moving from country to country, a cultural shift? And is there... I don't want to say the word expectation because whenever somebody shows you kindness, it's not through expecting kindness. But has there been a shift in the sort of things that you've come to get used to people offering you from one country to the next?
There is, of course, a cultural shift. Some places, they don't tend to give you anything. Other places, they tend to give you whatever they can. But, what they have, water is the most common, fruit the second. But... no, I didn't notice a difference on what they give you. It's what they have, what they can.
Yeah. Cultural stuff aside, I imagine that everybody meets you with this sense of curiosity as well, travelling in the manner that you do.
Yeah, you're there, you're open. There are places where they see, like here, quite a few bike tourer, but others where they never seen one and they fail to grasp what we're doing. The conversation in many places is funny. They say, where are you from? Italy. Where do you come from? Italy. Yeah, no, you don't get it. I know that you're Italian, but where you start cycling? Italy. And then there is always a moment of silence. They try to process what they just heard. But did you cycle all the way from Italy? Yes. And then they start asking how many days, how many kilometers, how you do it, how you eat, how you sleep. But many people, they really fail to grasp it. It's beyond what they can imagine.
Actually, we're talking about statistics there. And, I mentioned that on this tour, I think you're on your 14th or 15th country now. How many kilometres have you actually travelled?
More than 20,000, more or less.
Wow.
Don't go very straight.
I love that you're not taking the straight route, though. And it was actually something you mentioned to me when you got in touch, Muriel, was like some of your friends joke that you'll never get there, but you're not here to take the conventional route. So I love that.
A few days ago, when they saw me going northwest, I said, but are you not going to Japan anymore? Yes, I'm going. Give me time. I'll turn back and go there. First, I need to see other places. I've chosen Japan because I like to see it, and the flight is expensive, but I don't care to get to Japan. I mean, I care to see what is in the middle. It's about the journey, not to arrive anywhere.
What a journey you have had. So let's talk about then restarting this trip, where you stopped in 2021 in Italy and restarting again. So from Italy, how did you make your way to the Gulf region? What sort of route did you take from there?
I crossed the North Italy, then I crossed Südtirol toward Austria. From Austria I went to Slovenia, cycled all across Slovenia. Then I went slightly north to Hungary. I didn't want to go back to Croatia that I visited the year before. Then Serbia, I took the Danube there, followed it till halfway in Bulgaria, stayed always on Bulgarian side. Then zigzagged across the mountains in Bulgaria, Istanbul, Turkey, spent 3 months there, amazing country. Then I went up to Georgia, Armenia, Iran, and then down to Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi, visited Bahrain and Qatar as well, then down to Oman, back to Emirates, and then from there I didn't want to go back to Iran. Turkmenistan is still closed, so the original plan to take the ferry and do that route was not possible, and I had to fly from Abu Dhabi to Tashkent in Uzbekistan.
Far out, Muriel. And I imagine listeners, you're hearing these countries listed off as well, and if you're like me, you're almost shaking your head just thinking, wow. Like, I looked at a map before we started this call to say, okay, this is the way that you go. And it's one thing to see it visually on a map, but also just hearing it as well in that manner. To me, it puts it in perspective when I talk about different cultures, history and experiences of countries. From one to the next is so different.
That is a kind of, instead, interesting thing. Flying was very bad because it was a kind of, you want to say, a cultural shock, because you go from one country to a different one, and although they are both Muslim countries, they are different worlds. When you travel by bike and you don't fly, as I wanted to do and I failed to do it, you pass from one country to the other, and the difference is not that big. When you go from France to Germany, yes, there are two different countries, two different languages, but you see that the shift is subtle and little by little. And then you go to Austria, and again from Germany is different, but they share something. And again, Slovenia is the same, Hungary is the same, and you go on and you don't have these big differences. It's all subtle, little by little.
That's actually a very good way of putting it then. Well, conversely then, was there ever a time where you just felt like you made this big leap into a different space?
When I flew, I mean, even going from Iran to the Gulf country, I mean, the south of Iran is already kind of Arabic. It starts getting the transition there. So the biggest was probably between Turkey and then Georgia, Armenia, and then Iran, because, I mean, the Caucasus is pretty different. They are Orthodox, they are ex-Sovietic, so the culture is very different. Probably that was the biggest gap without flying.
And then I guess when we talk about knowledge, and we were talking earlier in the show about you have a passion for history and learning and planning. So you do arrive in the Gulf country, in that region, with not much planning, other than the plan for hitting beautiful, warm, staying in the warm weather and leaving a European winter behind. What sort of preconceptions did you have then about the Gulf region? And what manner did you begin touring the Gulf region? What mindset were you in for this part of your trip?
At the beginning was just go warm, stay safe, and see the desert. I mean, I love the desert, and I knew it already that I would be in the desert, so that was the only ideas I had. I had the idea that they were kind of very conservative countries. I didn't have idea that they were so welcoming and generous, and that's it. I mean, all the rest was a surprise. I didn't even know what to see in this country, what there was. I didn't have a clue that Saudi had big mountains.
I certainly didn't know that there were mountains in Saudi. I'll admit, all I thought about with Saudi Arabia is hot climate and sandy deserts. So talk to me then about the landscape in Saudi Arabia. Obviously there is desert there, but what are these mountains like?
They are amazing. They are actually, I think they go above 3,000 meters. There are amazing climbs. There are areas that are quite green. They can be quite cold, rainy. The fog is very common. There are these mountains covered in green. There are baboons in some areas. All stuff that I didn't know.
It's so polar opposite to what I would picture Saudi Arabia to be like.
In the northwest, there are green areas, not just wadi, but really green areas with trees and everything. It's not just everybody imagine the desert of Lawrence with sand and that's it. No, there is a lot more. And even the desert is not one desert. There are different kind of deserts. Flat and rocky, the classic sand dunes. There are rock formation that likes to be in Grand Canyon in the States with amazing colors. Changes a lot.
Before, when you were saying you love the desert, you knew there would be desert and you were looking forward to it, had you already travelled to parts of the desert before and knew that there were different types of desert as well? And I ask that because like I said at the start, my thought is big sand dunes and that's the desert. I don't picture these rocky landscapes as what you've described.
Well, I know that there are different deserts. I didn't know that there were different deserts in Saudi. I mean, I've been to the Sahara Desert, I've been to the Negev Desert in Israel, and they are completely different. But I didn't know that there was this variety in Saudi Arabia.
I'm sort of wondering now, just as a curious Australian, how different the Australian desert would be to the deserts that you've experienced. And I guess a follow-up question just for you, Muriel, is do you ever see yourself perhaps travelling to my home country and seeing that part of the landscape as well?
Well, if I can, I would travel every single country by bike. Let's see how it goes. I would like.
I want to ask just a very simple question. What is it about travelling on a bicycle in this manner and discovering countries on a bicycle that you find so appealing and that resonates so deeply with you?
I like to be on a bicycle. I find it easier. You are exposed to everything. You can hear, like when you climb, hear noises, look at the birds, look at the landscape. You are in the country, then you are approachable from people. I mean, I like to travel and I used to travel, but like a tourist, you take the flight, you go to a place for 2 weeks, you go to the most touristic place where they are accustomed to see everybody. They don't care about talking to you. They care just that you pay and you buy something and you go to the restaurants and that's it. By bike, you see the country in a different ways. You can meet people that are genuinely interested in talking to you and knowing your story and share their story as well, of course.
That's a very good point that you make, because when you're travelling on a bike, you were talking before, people asking, where are you from? Yes, Italy. Yeah, but where are you from? And where are you from? And so there's this concept of you're constantly telling your story. Do you think it's because you travel perhaps in a perceived vulnerable way that people are more open to sharing more about themselves and their story as well?
Well, I guess yes. I mean, they don't perceive a cyclist as a threat. You're alone, you are there, you're in the middle of nowhere. You are in the danger. Although, I mean, when the people invite you in their home, they take a risk as well. They don't know you.
I talk about people that you meet in country, but you have also, travelling in this manner, have had the benefit of meeting fellow bicycle tourers as well on your route, haven't you?
Yeah, a lot. And I love it. I mean, I'm not a solitary person. I love to be in company. But when you are alone, you're more approachable by the local people, but by other tourers as well. And I shared the road with a lot of people. And I loved it. Some of them, they became really friends. And we talk to each other very often, know where we are. Because there are a lot of people on the road everywhere. I was talking to a guy just before joining the conversation with you that is 3 days behind me, and I met him already 4 times along the road. Never cycled together, but we met 4 times. I know that he's coming this way, and I told him all about the route from Khiva to Bukhara.
It's something I must admit, Muriel, it wasn't until I actually started this podcast and started being able to interview beautiful people like yourself that I realised that there is a sort of community of bicycle tourers who do communicate with each other during their travel. It isn't just random seeing someone coming from the opposite direction or catching up to someone. Like, there are ways that people can keep in touch with each other now.
Yeah, I mean, the community is very close. It's amazing. Everybody helping each other. And there are, a couple of Facebook groups, but there are some WhatsApp groups that divided by region areas, very active with people sharing information, and they are amazing. And you come across. Plus, Instagram, you start following somebody, then at the end you meet because you are in the same area. We are all doing the same things. We know what the problems are, and we help each other. I guess it's normal.
Yeah, having this community that you can tap into on the road if you have a problem, a mechanical concern about a certain road, knowing that there are others there that will gladly help you. We live in an amazing time where this is possible now, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, it takes off a bit of unknown, surprise, and sense of exploration that people in the past was different.
Yeah.
You had more to trust on local knowledge and ask people. And
I wonder then, and this is me being curious, Muriel, is there ever a point then when you just zone out from those groups just to have, okay, these next few days I'm not reliant on anything, I'm just going to see what I experience?
No, but I don't deeply rely on the group as well. I'm quite independent. I do my stuff, so I forget about the groups. I don't read. I don't want to know anything, and I do my stuff, but I don't rely on them all the time.
Do you ever then, because you said, you love being around people, are there times where travelling on your own, do you get lonely?
No, never. I had one moment, New Year Eve, when I was in a very bad hotels with horrible weather outside, raining, foggy, and I was alone in this moldy room, and everybody was sending me photo of their parties, and I had a kind of low moment, but except that, I don't remember any other moment that I felt lonely. I'm sociable, but I'm fine with myself as well.
Did you have to learn to be fine with yourself? Obviously, you've travelled now for so long. Obviously, you're used to your own company. But at the very start of touring, was that a difficult process for you to get used to?
No. I'm always been fine with myself, and I didn't have any problem. Never felt lonely. What I feel is the lack of sharing the experience sometimes. Sometimes we are just having an amazing experience or just in an amazing place, and you cannot share it with anybody if not through a post on Instagram. So that is what I miss. I remember a couple of times just trying to do a video call to friends to show where I was, which can come across almost like just braggy. Oh, look, I'm here, it's nice, amazing, you are in the office. But my attempt is to have somebody to share it with.
I guess this is the curious side of me that's only grown up with one perspective of the Gulf region. You obviously went through areas, you were talking about going through Iraq. I grew up with Iraq just being associated with war. What was it like travelling through a country which has that side of history that's unavoidable for us with the media that we grow up with?
Well, honestly, Iraq, I just crossed it in one day, so I didn't have a big experience there, and it was highly militarized with a lot of roadblocks, police and army everywhere. So, I don't have a big experience. I didn't have any problem in that day, but it's not really an experience.
Yeah.
But I read of other people that spend a lot of time both in the Kurdish and in the Arabic area, and they are all impressed and had nice experiences and amazing people, amazing places. So I'm just referring, it's not a first-hand experience.
If you reflect back on the Gulf, how would you summarise it for somebody? A curious traveller that's thinking of cycling through the Gulf region, what are the sort of things you would tell them?
Okay, first of all, one aspect that has to be explained is that it's not a homogeneous area. We always see they are Arab, they are all the same. They are not. Saudi, Omani, Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, they are completely different. They have different clothes. Their religion is slightly different. They behave in different ways. Second, the nature is a challenge. Distance, especially in Saudi, they are quite, I mean, not for you, you're probably accustomed to that in Australia, but for an European, they are difficult to imagine, and you have to plan ahead because you might be days without a shop and without access to water. And then, I mean, nature is amazing. People are different, but mostly generous and welcoming everywhere.
And actually, I have to ask about the food. Like, what's the food like there?
It's not the highlight of the region.
Okay.
I had some amazing food, but vegetables are really scarce and varieties unheard of, let's say. Rice and chicken or chicken and rice.
Okay. I love that. Let's just divert away from the Gulf because obviously you've gone all the way from London. You've gone through many different countries where food is a highlight for many people. And I asked this to an Italian of all. Where is the place where you've enjoyed the best food?
Ooh, I mean, I'm a foodie, of course. Even in Saudi, I had some amazing stew, rice, amazing cook, but being always the same is a bit boring. Turkey probably is the best. There is a lot of variety, a lot of cheap food everywhere. Food really accessible all the time, and I love Turkish cuisine in general already. Yes, probably that. But in Georgia, there is the khachapuri. I don't know if you...
I don't know it. Enlighten me.
Khachapuri, yes, is a dough filled with cheese. When it comes out of the oven, they put a raw egg on top, and then you mix it and basically cooks with the heat of the cheese, and it's stunning. It's perfect when you are cycling.
Yum.
It's amazing, yeah. Probably that's my favorite dish, but I knew it already.
Oh, I don't know that one, but it is definitely one that I want to seek out. When you were mentioning Turkey there, vegetables in Turkey are cooked in just an amazing way as well.
Yes, the aubergine, they know how to do it. There is this aubergine stuffed with tomato and garlic that I love.
Oh, like imam baldi?
Yes, that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Stunning.
That is one of my favourite dishes to cook. I feel like I grew up genetically knowing how to cook that while I was, in the womb.
I'm on my way. Here is dinner time.
Very good. Now, are you a coffee lover?
Yes, I do love my coffee, and I cannot start the day without coffee.
Because coffee is something that changes through different countries as well.
This is amazing subject. I love it.
Very good. And as an Italian, you have to be a very good connoisseur yourself. And obviously you would have had great coffee in Italy, but it definitely changes as you go. What are the things that you've really noticed about it?
Hot beverage is a cornerstone of any country culture that I've crossed, always. Tea or coffee. However, it's amazing that in every country, first of all, if it's tea, chai or coffee, the main hot drink changes. But then the way to prepare it, the way to serve it, the ceremonies around changes completely. I could talk about this for hours and tell you different country, what they do, how they prepare it, how they serve it. And it's very interesting. And again, in Saudi, I don't like the Saudi coffee because they toast it too lightly. It's almost white. And again, we refer to Arabic coffee in Europe, but there is not such a thing as Arabic coffee. There is a Saudi, there is the Omani, there is the Emirates, and they're different.
Wow.
And in Saudi is always the coffee and the tea brewing on charcoal and dates.
What about flavours with coffee as well? I certainly know, I grew up with Greek coffee. I can remember my papu brewing the Greek coffee in a little briki on the stove. And then I know Turkish coffee, some people might think it's the same, but it's very different. It often has a hint of cardamom to it as well. What have you noticed differently there as well in between? Like, what makes them different between, you were talking about, Arabic coffee is different from each place?
First things is the toasting of the coffee itself, so it changes, and the quality of the coffee. So you have different flavors, different aroma coming out, and then how they prepare it, filter, boiling in the Turkish or Greek way, or just leave it in the hot water. In many countries, as you were mentioning, they start adding cardamom, cinnamon, a lot of sugar before or no sugar at all.
Well, so can I ask, do you think that the way that you drink coffee and your preference for coffee has changed along with your trip?
Not really. I mean, I like almost every kind of coffee. I like to try different tastes, but also because I'm not too fussy. I'm weird as Italian. I drink filter coffee. I have a little filter. I don't carry the big Italian mocha machine.
I've seen a lot of people with like a filter, like a pour over or something in a Wildcat.
Yeah, that's the one I have.
Do you start your day off then with a coffee routine?
Always. I wake up and I don't do absolutely anything till I had my coffee and breakfast. There are people packing everything, even starting cycling and then having breakfast. For me, that doesn't exist. I don't deflate my mattress till I had coffee and breakfast.
I actually had it as a question of if you wanted to give someone a tip or something about setting out, what would you tell them? I'm wondering whether you'd tell them to have a nice morning routine before you start packing up.
No, actually, I'm very opinionated on this. I wouldn't tell anybody to have to do this. There are different ways to do touring, different way of traveling by bike. There is not a right way. There is the way that works for you. And I'm really, really strongly opinionated on this. I would never tell anybody, this is the way. There is not one way. There is your way.
You know, I think there's some beauty in that as well, because I feel if you were to tell people, I'm going to travel from my place all the way to Japan, and this is the way I would go, there would probably be a lot of people saying, why are you going down that way? You shouldn't be going that way. And I guess if you're listening to people's opinion, a trip like yours would never take place. Did you have people actually advise you against touring where you have gone?
Well, yes. Italians especially, they are very... they believe they know better on every subject and they have to tell you, but I don't listen to them, clearly.
Yeah. And by the sounds of it, you've had amazing experiences and no regrets travelling where you've gone to either.
No, absolutely. I loved every single moment, almost every single moment of my trip and my choices. I go with the flow at the end. That's something that I learned a lot on the road. I'm a planner. I plan everything, but the plan went all upside down. I changed route. I had a plan for where to be in certain months and doesn't work. It's fine.
Things that have changed that have sometimes been things out of your control. So I know that you've left the Gulf region. You are in Uzbekistan now. You're in Central Asia. You'll be travelling, I imagine, Mir Highway coming. But your plans would have been upended a little bit for things such as border closures, restrictions. I think you had quite a trial. You have now secured your Chinese visa. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. That was bad because, I have to fly to London, get the visa, fly back and start again. I had to stop the journey for 10 days, which I didn't count in my diary. They are called not existing days.
You just couldn't wait to get back onto the bike when you got back? It must have been bizarre to get into London, of all places, as well.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was kind of a strong experience. It was nice to see some of my friends, but I couldn't wait to be back on my bike and carry out the journey. Also because the weather was terrible.
That is a way of realising that you're doing the right thing now, Muriel. If you can't wait to get back to it, it's a sign that you're doing the right thing, isn't it? You're doing something which fills you up and uplifts you.
Well, I didn't think about that, but yes, I totally agree with you.
Free insights here on the Seek Travel Ride podcast coming at you.
Thank you.
That's okay. Muriel, obviously you can't travel this type of distance without having some sort of a mechanical. And you mentioned that you're much more comfortable now fixing mechanicals yourself. But have you had any that have actually stopped you in your tracks and made you think, how am I going to get going again?
Yeah, a couple, but I was really never worried. There was this time I was coming back with another tourer from Qatar and enter Saudi. Just before the border, my rear cable gears snapped. I didn't flinch. I said, fine, few kilometers in headwind, of course, with the hard gear. Then we knew that there was this place we could camp, get a shower. We had electricity in a park on the beach and was We slept there before, no problem at all. Tomorrow I repair the bike and it's fine. Wake up, clean the bike, clean the drivetrain, take off the broken cable, push inside the cable. The cable is short. I bought the cable in Iran. I didn't check it. I trust the shopkeeper. And I was there. And it was nice because there was nothing close. Closest shop on my way was probably 700, 800 kilometers because I was going to cross the empty quarter in Saudi, between Saudi and Oman. And there was a shop 150 kilometers back. I tried to get a lift, but I couldn't find anybody give me a lift back. I didn't know what to do, but I was still very relaxed. The guy with me said, I don't know how can you be so relaxed. I would be stressed. I said, what can I do? I mean, I'll find a solution in some way, no problem. Then I called the store, asked him if he could give the cable to somebody coming my way. And the guy basically, no, I'm coming, no worry. I said, how much is going to cost me? 150 kilometers front and back. No, of course it's free. What is free? You cannot do that. No, you are my guest. If you want to pay, I'm not even coming. The guy came, did the job himself because he came with a van with a workshop inside, brought a bag of goodies of energy drinks and stuff and spare parts that left me always for free. And he was even apologetic because when he saw that I was in company, he said, oh, sorry, I have only one bag, but you are coming my direction. Come to the shop. I'll give you free service and the bag of goodies to the other tourer.
Wow. What a generosity.
It's basically normal in Saudi. I used to say, if you are shameless, you can come out of Saudi without spending a penny, and even with more money you enter with. Yeah. And it was just an exaggeration. Then I came across a tourer that I find a bit disgusting, but he made 2,000 euros in 3 months in Saudi. I mean, I was offered money many times and always refused. Just a couple of times they forced me. They put them in my pocket and I couldn't do anything. But
again, it's the generosity of the culture and the spirit there, and taken with goodwill as you have there. But again, that person telling you, aren't you stressed? No, there will be a solution. I don't think you could ever have dreamed up the solution that came.
No.
Hand-delivered solution with extra goodies as well, a 300-kilometre round trip. Oh, may good things be paid forward to this beautiful shopkeeper as well. That's just a beautiful, beautiful story.
Modern Shop in Al-Hasa, it's called. Sorry, I use your podcast for advertisement.
That is fine. I will allow it. So you have secured your Chinese visa. You're in Central Asia now. What are you most looking forward to about the next part of your trip?
Well, the Pamir, of course. All this long journey started because this guy told me about this road that I hadn't heard about before. And climbing above the height I haven't been in my life. I mean, I will go almost to 5,000 meters, hopefully.
I've seen photos of bicycle travellers on this very road, and oh my gosh, it really, really excites me knowing what's up ahead of you. And you have got your Chinese visa, so unlike a lot of bicycle travellers from the last 1 or 2 years, you are now going to be travelling where a lot of people haven't travelled for some time. What are you looking forward to most about China?
China is a very fascinating country with a long history, massive land with a lot of sight to see, and culture is going to be deeply different from all the other countries I visited before, so I'm always attracted to learn more about other population.
Yeah, and how will you get across into China? Will you go through Kyrgyzstan and cross over from there?
No, I want to go all the way to Kazakhstan and then cross from there in Xinjiang. I mean, I don't know if you know about the region, but it might be an interesting experience. Let's put it in this way.
That is guaranteed, I feel. You are a planner. Do you have a time frame in mind for how long you may allow yourself to take to get to Japan? Or are you flexible with your schedule that way?
I'm flexible with my schedule, and I don't know how I will go. Originally, I was planning to be there beginning of October probably, but probably I will get there end of the year, not earlier than that. Said this, I'm still thinking what I want to do and where I want to go, because the idea is go to Japan, go back, find again a job, and start again my normal life. I was almost convinced instead to cross the Pacific and cycle in America as well. But then I got a job offer back in London for the end of the year, so I don't know. I'm thinking. If I accept this offer, fly back by the end of the year.
You've got lots of time to think about it as you're pedaling along your way as well. And I feel you'll be able to, with your thoughts there, make the right decision for you, whether that's continue touring and heading to America or picking up a bit of the life that you've left behind and restarting something different and putting that next tour on pause. I say on pause because I feel, Muriel, something that comes across deeply as I speak with you is this is the way that you will travel. Like, this is your traveling lifestyle as well. I don't feel that you'll finish this trip and then that's it, and that you close the bicycle touring box forever. I feel there's a bicycle tour that will constantly be on your mind. The next trip is always there.
Even if I get to Japan, fly back to London and work, I will still tour and plan more journeys, definitely.
Muriel, I feel like I've only really scratched the surface of your trip, and I do this with many bicycle travellers that have travelled in this manner. I do want to ask you a specific question, and that is, what haven't I asked you? What question haven't I asked you that I should have asked you?
Well, actually, you ask a lot of nice questions, but you can ask a lot of questions about any country specific. Oh, no, you know what? Probably specific experience with people, but hard to choose one.
But if you had to choose, like, the first thing that comes to your mind is often the one that touches you the most. What would that be?
Probably one of the first. In Bulgaria, I was in the mountain in this small village with two German guys. We were getting along very well, very good vibe between us. And we asked in this small village to pitch our tent in the green. And they said, fine, no problem, you can do it. And Bulgaria is probably one of the poorest European countries. In the mountains, there are just old people surviving and having allotment, a few chickens, and all the young people have left their own the capital or abroad. So they are not rich people, of course. And there was this old lady that gave us permission to pitch. Basically, This lady gave us a table, give us a lot of food, her food, and she was not a rich person. And between her food, my food, and the food of the guys, we had the feast. It was amazing.
Oh, that's the best. I love that. And, you know, the poorest people in this world often seem to give us the most, if that makes sense, because they are giving everything that they have. I feel there is a reason for this too. I feel that it is through, and we were talking about it earlier, that traveling in this manner, there is a perception of vulnerability. You are on your bike, you obviously don't have much. And it's a knowledge of someone who doesn't have much. They know what it's like not to have anything, and so they want to share what they can give. That's my theory anyway.
Yeah, probably there is that kind of feeling in the background, but I think that just people are nice in general.
Yeah, exactly. Muriel, I'm sure that my listeners are going to be wanting to follow along with your trip, especially I've made mention about the beautiful details that you put through in your posts and whatnot. If people want to keep abreast of how your trip is going and where you are up to and what you were seeing, how can they do that? How can they follow your journey along?
I have just an Instagram account which is called Muriel on Bike, but is really completely unfiltered. I take photos with my phone without worrying too much, and I just tell what I experience. Nothing more than that. It's not a fancy account.
I've absolutely loved the detail that you put in between every one of your posts, and to my listeners, I will be providing a link in our show notes to Muriel's Instagram account for you there as well, so that you can keep track of his journeys. Perhaps maybe you'll message him and say, hey, Muriel, you can show me the amazing sites that you want to share as well.
Thank you. Very kind of you.
But Muriel, I could speak to you for hours, but unfortunately my time is running out. What I do like to do, though, is finish with the same two questions. And that is, if you have been given the choice to cycle up a constant climb all day or have to battle through a constant headwind, which one are you going to be choosing?
Well, that's easy. I would always choose climbing. I mean, even if you had to tell me 1 hour of wind and 1 week of climbing, I will go for the climbing.
To my listeners, I think Muriel has had the most intense headwinds imaginable in the desert as well. I feel like you've done your time with the headwinds there.
No, I had very, very hard moments. In Oman, I had 22 days in a row of headwind up to 50 kilometers per hour, including sand the tent filling up with sand during the night. So no wind, thank you.
Can I ask, after a moment like that, and I'm just thinking, do you just resign yourself to realising there will forever be sand in your tent? That in weeks from now, you will find grains of sand in your tent?
You have no idea what the sand does. You find sand everywhere in places that you didn't know to have for days and days. I still have sand around from the Gulf, from every country.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? 22 days of those, it's like a hell. It's like you are riding through hell.
Definitely, yes. I wouldn't say that was the best moment of my trip.
No, exactly. Okay, and the last question here. This is an interesting one. I always know what people will answer with the first question. I get a good feeling for them. But the last one, I'm not sure with yourself here, Muriel. So if you are given the choice of cycling 4 hours on your own or 4 hours with other people, which one are you preferring?
Well, probably 4 hours with somebody else. I'm not a sporty man. I'm not the one that goes down and push for 4 hours on the pedal. It's all about the experience. So if it's just 4 hours, share it with somebody is better.
Oh, that is lovely. Well, Muriel Zaccuri, I have had the most phenomenal experience just chatting with you here and listening to just a small part of your story. It has been as incredible, or as incroyable, as they say here in France. Thank you so, so much. It has been an absolute pleasure. I wish you tailwinds for 22 days somewhere along your trip. If you do get that, it will be like winning the lottery, no doubt. But thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you very much for having me. And thank you for your kind words, and especially for your enthusiasm that will definitely carry with me and will help me on my road.
Very good, Muriel. I will think of you tomorrow when I have my very first coffee in the morning, and thinking of you sitting there somewhere you've enjoyed it before you get going as well. May you have a very safe onward journey.
Thank you very much.
That was such an inspirational chat there I had with Muriel, catching up on his bicycle adventures and finding out exactly why he's inspired to travel in the way that he does. And I especially love that he seeks out places that are perhaps not on the traditional beaten path of a bicycle tourer as well. Since speaking to Muriel, he has actually started his way on the Pamir Highway. He has been sending me amazing photos of these epic mountain passes that he is exploring, and he's enjoying meeting other adventurers on the road, so be sure to check him out. Now, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow it in your podcast player so that you are notified when new episodes drop. If you have your own bicycle adventure that you'd like to have featured on the show, then please get in touch. Send me an email, podcast@seektravelride.com, and we can discuss how you can be featured as a guest for the show as well. I also like to give a special shout out to those of you who have taken some time out to leave me a rating and a review. I really appreciate those. And if you haven't done so yet but would feel so inclined, please do so, because it does definitely help the show to grow and pushes us out there to a wider audience. Thank you for all the support you have shown me. And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening.